you guys for coming to the session. This is ARX Style, a look at digital identity, self-expression, and trends. And my name is Rajni Jacques. I am the Global Head of Fashion and Beauty at Snap. And we have some, thank you. Ah, love this. It's like the end of the day, cheers. And we have two great people here with me. We have David Robustelli, who is the creative director and founder of Beyond Studios, reshaping the future of digital experiences and fashion, and we'll definitely get into more of that as we go through. And then we have Madame Paige Piskin, a beauty lens creator, and this is someone who is also changing the game in the beauty landscape. You know, I think right now we're at a really interesting time when it comes to fashion and beauty and tech. There's so much innovation, there's so many things that are changing in such a swift time and a swift moment. And I think when it comes to self-expression, when it comes to your Bitmoji and your avatars, and especially AR, which is the medium that they work in, it is something that is just changing kind of the ecosystem in this landscape. So I know we only have 30 minutes, so I just want to get into it. What has your journey been? And this is for the both of you. What has your journey been in the world of AR? And was this planned? Is this something that you fell into or something that you saw as kind of like a future exploration? Paige?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start. So I've been working for about 15 years in the digital media space. I started out working in digital branding, online marketing, even traditional marketing, billboards, signage, stuff like that. And eventually I started to work in influencer marketing and influencer management. From there, I was at an influencer conference and I saw somebody demoing augmented reality, and I was just blown away that you could create things on the face like makeup and make it look kind of real. A couple months later, I downloaded a program and I started designing, and I started downloading Snapchat's Lens Studio. I started creating there, and I just started getting really into it as a hobby and a passion. Before I had known it, there were influencers wearing my effects, and I got a message that Grimes had worn my effect in her music video, and my mind was blown. And from there, it started to become something I realized would be a full-time career for me, because it was just it's passion and something that I saw an actual career path with.
Yeah, that's great. And David?
Yeah, so for me, I've always had a passion for tech from when I was very young, and I started the first tech company in advertising about 15 years ago. And we actually were always looking for innovative ways to engage the audience for brands, basically. Yeah. So our first AR experience was, I think, 15 years ago, and we programmed it with Flash and ActionScript, and it was, very techy, and you had to, allow a lot of boxes before you could have the experience, and you needed a webcam, which was not something that's standard on your laptop or not at all on your mobile phone. But we saw the potential, and then we did a long journey through the HoloLens with VR, and we really started looking into how basically 3D and these immersive experiences could help brands connect with their audience.
Got it.
And then when we basically, it was a long journey, and then when we got into Lens Studio and specifically the 3D body tracking, for us it was really an eye-opener of, okay, now we can do real fashion. And then it went pretty hard, so
got it.
Yeah.
That's great. Now we all know the buzzword, the metaverse. And I think, just to kind of do some explaining here, where the metaverse kind of takes you out of your environment, but AR enhances the environment that you're already in. And this is obviously the medium that you both work in. What are some of the misconceptions or the misunderstandings of augmented reality?
I think a common misconception might be that it's something that is just for fun.
Okay.
Because it is something that's really useful. There's so much utility there. Like when it comes to digital shopping or creating concepts or just creating the stunning fashion he creates or the fun makeup looks like, and also creating product try-ons, all this stuff, it can be something that creates accessibility, it's sustainable, it's shareable, it's really amazing. But I think the utility thing is something that a lot of people don't realize.
Got it.
Yeah, I fully agree. A lot of people, still think it's a gimmick, but it's really not. As you say, there's a lot of utility in there, and I also think, it's not a niche. We all see it. Everybody uses the camera to communicate every day, and it's basically a new media space where advertisers, have to have presence to communicate with their audience. And it being something that enriches the user experience within the camera, I think it's just something that's it's really there to stay, and it has huge potential in a lot of different fields.
No, true. And David with Beyond Studios, I know that you guys have worked with, luxe brands as Louis Vuitton, Valentino, Tiffany. Why do you think, these luxe brands see the impact of AR at this moment? I do think we're kind of in a different time frame of how they're using this technology.
Yeah, I think the world is changing in a very rapid way, and tech is obviously a big part of that. And we have different identities. We have a physical identity, we have a social identity, and we also have a virtual identity. At least that's something that's being created right now. And brands see that, and they need to be there as well, and they need to enable the audience to basically express themselves with the tools that we give them. And fashion is something that's so close to that self-expression, and it fits so well within the space that I think it's something that's really undeniable for brands to look into and to really start taking very seriously.
And I think we were talking briefly outside, and you showed me one of the lenses that you came up from the Loewe.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen this sweatshirt, but it looks like a pixelated sweatshirt. It's blue and it's from Loewe. Excuse me. And just let's talk about this, because I think you said you dropped it today. What does that mean? I know that you guys did it yourself, but is it a thing where you're working with the IP of the brand?
Yeah.
How does that synergy work if it's something that you're just doing for fun or just for self-expression on your own?
Yeah, well, for a lot of the brands, I think I've heard it earlier today as well. We do not work with the IP of the brand, but we're just inspired by the brand. And we want to show the brand and also the audience what's possible. So with the Loewe, it was the pixelated hoodie was just so on point to use as a virtual try-on that
it was of the moment. It's like, how could you not create?
Yeah, it was for me. We need this, and then we have a virtual fashion team, because I think preaching that we do fashion for AR, you need to have like a background in fashion. And I'm not a fashion designer, so I hired basically 3 designers who came from the Fashion Academy, and they really dove into the virtual part of it. So I can on a very flexible way communicate with them. I show them something, they see the basically just the photo references. They create a pattern of it, how it's actually tailored, and then we generate it basically into an AR experience, and it works so well. And I think it's so good to see how this is something that's inaccessible for a lot of people, because the sweater is $1,500 and it's very limited. And I think this is a way to make it accessible for a larger audience and already create a connection with the brand. So I think it's a very important way.
And I think you hit the key word is the accessibility part. I do think fashion, even in beauty spaces, has been so gate kept. So it's always that 1% that really gets to play in this area. But I do think, and I would assume that you guys would agree, like AR, digital, that really has opened up the kind of the landscape for anyone to participate within the fashion or beauty ecosystem. Do you have any thoughts about that? Have there been any, obviously, pros? I'm going to hit you with this, Paige, on kind of like this ecosystem opening up and you having kind of like a free playground in a way.
Yeah, so I feel like there's 2 different areas there. It's when you're being the creator or you're the person that is wearing the effect. Accessibility-wise, as a creator, this has opened up the door that I can work with brands like L'Oreal or brands like Bratz or brands like artists like Coldplay. Like, these are brands I never imagined I'd be able to work with, but as a creator, now I'm able to work with them directly. That's incredible. Having access to those kind of brands, unbelievable, but this technology has allowed me to do that. As a person trying effects on, they're able to try out different makeup looks from the comfort of your own home, to be able to try out whether this lipstick shade is right for you or this makeup look from this campaign works for you. And that whole experience is something that I never imagined we'd be able to do from home, but now I'm creating for that. So it's really amazing how that accessibility has happened in the space.
Yeah. And then I also, another like sustainability, being able to kind of try something on in your own home and, seeing if it works for you, asking your friends, does this work for me, instead of buying something and having to return it, is also something that has, really kind of taken off, especially with augmented reality. I think, Paige, when it comes to beauty, there are a couple of things. Obviously the lenses that you create aesthetically change the way that someone looks. What are the pros and cons of that, especially in the context of the world? What's happening? We've heard about laws and stuff like that. So just wanted to get your take on what you saw were the pros and cons of virtual beauty, I guess.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of happened so fast. Like we have these effects that completely transform us into aliens and dolls and characters that we never imagined we'd be able to become with just one click. So I think that that's kind of been something that's just rapidly shook us up and helped us really think, like, what are we doing with this technology, and how do we raise this new generation to understand self-worth and identity, and how do we embrace these traits that we have that are so important, like our uniqueness and our flaws, which are special and important and stuff like that. So I think that when it comes to this stuff, I've noticed that, like, trend-wise, very avant-garde filters seem to do very well.
Yeah.
And I also see that there's a lot of parents that are embracing, individuality and uniqueness and stuff like that. So a lot of the younger generation is just looking for something where they can just try on those makeup colors, or just try on those eyelashes. They don't want to completely transform, or they might want to become the She-Hulk, something like that. It's either or.
I know my daughter loves like anything that's like animal, like face paint makeup that they would get at like a school festivity or like someone's birthday party. So I do think, obviously, when it comes to beauty, like really kind of teetering the line between like what is real, what's not, and like accepting yourself and that self-expression and self-identity without taking yourself out of it,
without taking away from you.
Exactly. And speaking of, I know that you were on the Glow Up, which I don't know if you guys know the show, but it's looking for the next kind of beauty star. So how do you take your knowledge of AR when you're judging artists who are judging in real life, like they're makeup artists, like doing someone's face? Like, how do you contextualize that?
Yeah, so on Glow Up, we were basically looking for three things: inclusiveness, shareworthiness, and innovativeness. So we wanted to make sure that we were seeing something that had never been done before, because makeup artists on Glow Up are extremely creative. They're constantly creating these new ideas every single week. And so we wanted to make sure that what they were doing would be something different, which would be something that we hadn't seen before, and then was something that other people could try, no matter face shape or anything. And then when it came to shareworthiness, it would be something that people would actually want to try on, or something that we wanted to try on. So that's where we kind of like judged our criteria, and they ended up creating these really cool and unique makeup looks. And it was so amazing just to see what somebody that didn't work in this space came up with, just based off what they knew they could have capability-wise. Their ideas were just out of this world cool.
That's awesome. And for David, I know we were talking about digital goods, obviously AR try-on. Tech does have the potential to be a great equalizer. Do you think that the next generation of designers will be digital first, or will there be like a melange of digital and in real life, and this is just the take because of all the work that you do?
Yeah, I think there will always be a mix, but I think people growing up with the tools at the tips of their fingers, it's all free. You have Blender, you have Blend Studio, you can use everything to really get crazy and extremely creative. And I also think it offers a lot of opportunities for brands and for creators to monetize, And I mean, digital, it can start as a digital good, for example. I mean, if you're creating something and you see that a lot of people are using it, it can be like virtual try-on, or maybe even some sort of makeup. And if it's being a lot, there's always the opportunity to actually then start shifting to the real world, So you have a very sustainable way of basically prototyping, and from there to see if there's a demand. If there's an ask, and if you can, translate that into something that's actually something that people can buy in the real world, it's basically you're shifting how things are made, instead of making them first physical and then translating them into virtual. I think with the tools we have now, it's just so logic that people will start as digital designers first, and then maybe start dipping into the real world design.
And we are building brands and obviously like telling stories in obviously in an engaging world that sometimes is out of chaos. Has storytelling gotten better and more concise through augmented reality?
Well, I think it's specifically got way more immersive, because the user is in the center of the story. You place them in the center of the story in a very personalized way, because they're trying out these effects in their own personal space. So you make it very immersive, because basically the user themselves are the director of their creation, of what they're interacting with, and at the same time it's a very personal experience. So I think it's something that's, for me, makes a lot of sense, that it's something that adds up to the story and makes it much more real and much more, well, interactive instead of just sending towards your audience. It's more like, you know, a two-way communication tool that offers a lot of other, you know, ways of creating on top of that. So,
Got you.
yeah, I think it's super interesting.
And this is for both of you, this question. What brands are doing it right when it comes to augmented reality? Like, who do you look at and get inspiration from and say, oh, wow, like they really kind of like push the needle, are moving something? Is there anyone that comes to mind?
Yeah, well, I think Nike's doing a great job. I mean, they purchased Artifacts, which was a virtual first fashion brand, obviously. And I think they did a very smart, you know, job of basically combining the two. And you also see that they're now, you know, they're dropping virtual fashion. Then they allow users to basically buy these virtual assets, but then also have them as physical items. You know, so I think it's something that's, as a brand, that's very innovative, and I think they're doing that, you know, in a very interesting way.
What did you say?
From my own experience, what I've seen is musicians really do a great job at trying to immerse you in the music video, and I really like that because I just know that from watching how people create content and tell their stories online and how they just create videos with their favorite songs. There's something really special about feeling like you're inside that music video, becoming the character in it, or having that background happening around you when you're sharing that content. So I like how they just understand what works for their audience. They seem to really, those types of lenses seem to do really well because it really does put you in that whole vibe.
And then I know, Paige, you had mentioned that you did a lens for Coldplay. What was the lens? I haven't seen it, and just can you give us, like, since you're saying like this is kind of like the thing that's moving the needle, can you give us a little like inside scoop on what that lens was, how you were able to kind of execute on that?
Yeah. So they had a song called "The Higher Power," and it's in their music video. They had a bunch of aliens dancing around, and so what they asked is if I'd be able to take one of those aliens and turn it into a makeup look, so that you could become the alien from the music video. And so we created this really elaborate transformation that turned you into this alien character with blue skin and with these hairstyle things that came out of the head. You could actually see it on their page, but people basically would wear that and they'd just lip sync the lyrics to the music video. And I got tagged in so many stories of people just lip syncing, and we had a backdrop with stars and like the night sky and smoke and stuff. And so you really felt immersed. So that was a really fun project because they let us go completely down the path of creative freedom.
Wow. So you guys you must go and try this lens because I know I'm going to do that straight after this. David, I know we touched upon these two words, digital goods. Obviously, those two words are super popular at the moment. What stage do you think we are when it comes to digital objects or digital pieces? Like, if you had to like create an arc, are we in the middle? Are we still at the beginning? I mean, give us your insight on that.
I think we're very much at the beginning. Well, I take it from a fashion and luxury perspective. I mean, fashion also, it started, you know, with illustrations, sketches, then it went into CAD, you know, CAD design, and now we're creating all these items in Blender. But it also means that for these brands, they're basically creating a new database, a new IP for their digital goods, aside from their physical goods, you know. So I think it's something that for brands can be a whole new revenue stream, for example. Not only creating digital twins, you know, translating physical items into virtual items, but creating virtual items that live only in the virtual space. And I think once we're, you know, tap into the interoperability of these items, you know, not just being able to wear them in the camera, but also in other virtual worlds. I think once we reach that it's going to be super interesting for brands because it's basically you need to have it as a brand because you have identity and you have maybe even multiple digital identities. And you know, the first thing that I do when I walk into I was testing in Roblox for some brands, for example. The first thing that you do is dressing your avatar. You know, I got the Bitmoji today, and I was, wow, you know, I wish I knew. Then I would have maybe dressed it differently.
Did the Bitmoji look like you?
Yeah, of course. It was amazing. But you know, that's such a good example of how important it is to be able to dress these avatars and to have a presence as a brand in this virtual space.
And you guys are always creating these lenses, but in what ways has augmented reality enhanced your own specific self-expression in maybe your daily lives and the way how you conduct yourself, and obviously in your workplace? How has it affected you?
It's been an incredible experience. It's allowed me to try out makeup looks and styles that I never imagined I'd be able to try before. Maybe I just didn't have those same abilities, like with makeup. Like I could barely do my eyeliner. Like, that wing is always different on either side. But with like AR, I can do it perfectly, you know? So it's allowed me to really try out different looks and kind of decide, do I want to attempt to try that in real life? And I've even found ways to do my makeup by creating just half the face and then recreating it on the other side and doing vice versa. So I've been able to use it as a tool to help me do my makeup. So that's been amazing. And then in terms of just like career, it's been just life-changing, just being able to turn this into a full-time job. And I just see so much happening in the future. Like you said, personalization in the digital space, being able to customize your avatar. Now we have this digital self, which is like our digital avatar. When we use an AR filter on our selfie camera, we are our digital avatar and we're customizing that experience.
Got you. And you, David?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think for me, specifically from a business and a creative perspective, it has changed everything. It's really the space where I want to be, because I really want to do what I like to do, not doing it because I have to do it. And also for me, it's very important from an inspirational point of view, and just trying these things on, getting inspirations, playing with it, prototyping, iterating. It's just something that really helps for the whole creative process. And I love it.
Awesome. I just want to take a read of the room. How many of you guys use augmented reality on a daily? How many of you guys have a Bitmoji? And do you find yourself creating the likes of your augmented reality self, your Bitmoji, very similar to how you look? Or is it kind of like a fantasy version of yourself? Who's similar? Who's similar? Who's fantasy version? Oh, hi guys. Hi fantasy guys. No, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I just feel like AR is so integrated in our lives today, and obviously with your Bitmojis and just all the tech that is swirling around, that I feel like everyone touches it, whether it's 5 seconds to 5 minutes to an hour. It was just nice to see the flow here. Getting back to the panel, in what ways, obviously, does digital fashion open new opportunities for brand and consumer engagement? Have you seen any like aha moments, like, wow, we connected with that person because of X, Y, Z?
Could you repeat that question?
Sorry, I was just saying, what ways are has augmented reality really kind of bridged the gap between like a brand and the consumer or the community? Have you seen anything that has really kind of wow, I've opened a door, or, just moved the needle in that way?
I guess from one of my experiences when I did that campaign for NYX Cosmetics, something that they wanted to do was take their throwback collection and create a really throwback, like our early 2000s kind of experience. And so what we did was we tried to recreate the campaign art, but as a wearable filter. So instead of just like a very traditional try-on, it was really like as if you're part of the campaign, from the background to the accessories on your head to the makeup. And we created 3 different lenses, and one of them did extremely well. Like it got over 10 million impressions, and it had something like hundreds of thousands of link clicks and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see that the brand was able to get really creative with this campaign and allow people to transform into that. So I really liked that they were open to that, and it seems like the audience really liked it too, because it allowed you to really see what is the potential of all this makeup. We made sure to incorporate all the Pantones and what the makeup was capable of doing in that lens as well. So that was really fun.
Awesome. David?
Yeah, we did quite some work for Louis Vuitton through Snapchat, and it's very interesting to see that a lot of the times they don't ask you to translate the physical product into a virtual version, but they ask you to tell the story behind the product in a way that you can leverage AR for the user and have them understand more about the backstory. And I think that's really interesting to see from a creative aspect, how you can use AR to really tell a story about a product without showing the product. And you really see that then, you really give the audience something to interact with instead of only giving them a product to discover. And I think that's really good to see that that's something that...
No, that's great. And I think that, is a point that I had mentioned earlier, is kind of like that storytelling aspect. As you said, it might not be the product, but it's kind of the aesthetic or the feeling that the product gives you. So in a way, it is getting more concise through augmented reality. You are able to kind of like immerse yourself in a place, even while sitting here. Anyone here could be feeling or like, you know, being immersive in another space than sitting here and listening to us talk. What are you excited for? You know, what are you excited for? Are there any projects that you can kind of like hint at that you guys are working on that we will see in the future? This is always the question that gives me the, you know, I can't talk about it, but what are you excited? Let's just leave it at what are you excited for?
Well, I'm looking at tech. I'm very excited to see. I think we dipped into it a little bit already today with AI and what it means for the, you know, for creating even better user experiences and taking it to a higher level. So from a personal perspective, I'm really interested to see where that goes. We use it already ourselves. You also said that you use it quite a lot for inspiration. And I think it's going to be something that's going to be very important for the future of AR as well. Not just, you know, from a visual perspective, but also for us how it can help optimize code, how it can, you know, advise you on how to approach certain strategies. So yeah, I'm very excited to see where that goes.
Awesome.
And I definitely agree with that. Like, I'm super excited about AI. I use it all the time in my workflow, from concepts to ideas. I'm asking ChatGPT all the time, like, is this a good idea? Like, what do you think? And then we, we prototype with Midjourney and stuff. I find it so fun. But in terms of fashion, I'm just so looking forward to having the ability to have a much more customized and more personalized experience, to be able to see the wardrobe I have online and have recommendations for new products based off of what I already have. Stuff that makes shopping a little bit more sustainable that way, because I'll be able to know, does this work with something I already have? Or can it recommend me outfits based off of new trends that blend well with things I already have, stuff like that. So I'm really excited about what you guys are doing with the shopping experience, and I just can't wait to see, as AI gets more integrated into that, like where that goes.
No. Well, thank you guys so much. I do want to slide back, this way, because, you know, I want you guys to get these guys' name, find their lenses, play with them. This is David Robustelli. And let's give a hand for Paige Piskin as well for talking about, you know, AR and style in this age. So thank you guys for joining us. There's much more to happen outside. If you didn't get your Nike sneaker, then maybe you got your Bitmoji, or, I don't know, grab a drink or a coffee. But thank you guys for being part of this stage.
Thank you.